Most men spend their lives confused, chasing love, validation, and happiness from women, only to end up heartbroken, used, or trapped. But 200 years ago, a philosopher named Arthur Schopenhauer exposed the raw truth about female nature. Truths so brutal, most men refuse to accept them. By the end of this, you'll see exactly where you've been deceived and how to finally take back control. So, pay attention because what you're about to hear isn't just controversial. It's the missing key most men will never grasp. Schopenhauer didn't believe in fairy tales. He saw love for what it really is. Not a spiritual bond, not destiny, but a biological trick. A ruthless illusion designed by nature for one purpose: reproduction. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When you feel that electric attraction, that obsessive desire, that conviction that she's the one, your brain isn't connecting with her soul, it's calculating. Subconsciously assessing fertility, genetic compatibility, survival advantages, and women, their attraction works the same way, just with different priorities. Schopenhauer wrote, "Love is the ultimate goal of almost all human effort. It is more important than anything else in life." But he didn't mean that romantically. He meant it as a trap, a fleeting chemical high that fades the moment it serves its purpose. Think about it. How many men have destroyed themselves for a woman who later walked away without a second thought? How many marriages crumble once the passion evaporates? That's not coincidence. It's nature's design. Women don't choose men based on fairness, loyalty, or even logic. They follow an ancient selection program hardwired to seek status, security, and genetic superiority. A man's devotion means nothing if he can't provide these. Schopenhauer saw this clearly. Women are rarely guided by reason. They are ruled by instinct and emotion. This isn't misogyny. It's observation. Look at dating apps where 80% of women compete for the top 20% of men. Look at divorce courts where commitment is rewarded with financial ruin. Look at history where kings died for mistresses who betrayed them. The pattern doesn't change because the biology doesn't change. Most men believe love is mutual, that if they sacrifice enough, care enough, prove their worth, they'll be rewarded. But Schopenhauer warned, to be loved, one must not be just, but clever. Women don't fall for nice, they fall for strength. Not just physical, but social, financial, psychological. This is why the good guy finishes last. Not because he's unworthy, but because he misunderstands the game. He thinks love is earned through service. Women by instinct are drawn to men who don't need to serve. Ever noticed how women lose interest once they've secured a man? How the chase reverses. Schopenhauer called it the tragedy of possession. The thrill isn't in having, it's in conquering. Once the conquest is over, biology moves on. That's why men who cling too hard, who make her the center of their world, inevitably watch her walk away. But here's the twist. This isn't women's fault. It's nature's. And the man who understands this, he stops blaming. He starts strategizing. Schopenhauer's lesson isn't to hate women. It's to see them clearly. To recognize that love isn't a fantasy. It's a negotiation. And the man who negotiates from weakness loses every time. But this is just the beginning. Because the next truth, it's even darker. It explains why modern men are being outplayed in every arena and how to flip the script. Stick around because what comes next is where most men realize they've been lied to their entire lives. Schopenhauer saw what most men today still refuse to admit. The rules of attraction aren't fair. They aren't logical. And the man who ignores this, he's already lost. Here's the brutal reality. Women hold the ultimate leverage in relationships, not because they're cruel, but because nature designed them to be selectors. From the moment puberty hits, a woman's value in the sexual marketplace peaks, while a man's must be built through struggle, status, and survival. Schopenhauer put it bluntly. Women are suited to being the nurses and teachers of our childhood by the very fact that they themselves are childish, frivolous, and short-sighted. He wasn't insulting them. He was highlighting an evolutionary truth. A woman's youth and beauty are her currency, and she instinctively knows how to spend it. Look around. The average man today is drowning in a paradox. He's told to be emotionally vulnerable while women still chase dominance. He's shamed for wanting traditional masculinity while strong. Alphas still dominate dating apps. He's worked to exhaustion, providing in a system that rewards him with divorce courts and paternity tests. Schopenhauer warned of this centuries ago. Women are directly fitted for acting as the nurses and teachers of childhood by the fact that they are themselves childish, frivolous, and short-sighted. In a word, they are big children all their lives. But here's where it gets dangerous. Modern women haven't just embraced their power, they've weaponized it. Social media has turned attention into an economy, and the average man is the unpaid laborer. He simps. He orbits. He competes for scraps of validation from women who will never commit to him. Why? Because he's been sold a lie. That devotion alone is enough. Schopenhauer saw the trap long before dating apps and Admire Me Too. Women are systematically trained to be incapable of genuine love. This sounds harsh until you realize what he meant. Female love is conditional. It's tied to utility. A man isn't cherished for who he is, but for what he provides. The moment he stops providing, the love fades. This isn't cynicism, it's survival. Women are hardwired to seek the best possible mate. If a man stagnates, she will resent him. If he falls behind, she will replace him. And modern society, it cheers her on. Schopenhauer divided men into two categories: those who serve and those who are served. The beta male exhausts himself trying to prove his worth. The alpha commands worth effortlessly. One begs for loyalty. The other inspires obsession. You see this everywhere. There is a man who wakes up every morning before dawn. He ties his tie, rushes through traffic, sits in his gray cubicle, and works until his eyes burn. His body aches, his spirit fades, but he tells himself it is all worth it. One day, he will climb high enough. One day, his wife will look at him with admiration, maybe even pride. But the day the promotion arrives, he comes home, places the letter on the table, and sees nothing has changed. Her eyes are still cold, her words still dismissive. The respect he thought he could earn with sacrifice was never for sale. Another man chooses the gym as his battleground. He trains with iron discipline, builds his body into something statuesque. Soon, women notice. They whisper, they flirt, they crave his presence. For the first time in his life, he feels powerful, desired. But then the truth reveals itself. Their attraction is shallow, their loyalty paper thin. They want his body, his image, his energy. But when it comes to commitment, they disappear. His strength may draw them in, but it does not make them stay. And then there is the man who plays the role of the provider long before he has been chosen. He buys gifts, pays for dinners, funds trips, hoping that love can be bought. He showers her with money, loyalty, endless affection. Yet the moment a man of higher status appears, she slips away without hesitation. His devotion was never enough. His efforts were never security. These men all share the same fate. They believe the stories society told them about love, about women, about relationships. They believed loyalty would be rewarded, sacrifice would be honored, and devotion would be enough. Schopenhauer ripped that illusion to pieces. He saw love not as a fairy tale, but as nature's clever trick. The mind convinces you she is the one, but behind the curtain, biology is calculating survival, reproduction, and advantage. Desire is not random, it is strategic. Men are drawn to youth, beauty, and fertility. Women are drawn to strength, confidence, and status. Love is not a miracle. It is negotiation written in flesh. This is why women do not fall in love with devotion. They fall in love with power, presence, and value. The man who makes her the center of his world signals weakness. He loses the very respect he was trying to earn. Look carefully, and you'll see it everywhere. A woman doesn't openly challenge a man. She tests him. Will he cancel his plans if she demands his time? Will he stay calm when she provokes him emotionally? Will he hold his frame when she threatens to leave? Most men fail without even realizing they've been tested. They confuse compliance with love, weakness with kindness, and obedience with loyalty. Schopenhauer observed that women mastered this subtle warfare because they had to. For thousands of years, they could not win with brute force, so they won with psychology. They learned to read micro-expressions, tone, posture. They could see confidence crack before a man even knew it had left him. This was not cruelty. It was survival. But men, blinded by illusions, often mistake manipulation for sincerity. They fall for tears without realizing tears can be a weapon. They confuse affection with loyalty, not seeing that affection is often conditional. They believe attention equals love, when in reality, true desire is something much rarer, reserved only for men who do not need it. The dangerous truth is this: women are not cruel for being selective. They are following their instincts, just as men do. But the man who does not understand this becomes a slave to those instincts. He chases, he begs, he sacrifices, and in the end, he resents. The wiser man steps back. He sees love for what it is: biology wrapped in poetry. He no longer expects it to be pure, eternal, or unconditional. He treats it as nature intended, a force, not a promise. This does not make him bitter. It makes him free. Schopenhauer called this freedom the greatest form of strength: to want nothing desperately, to cling to nothing blindly, to see through illusions without rage. The man who does this becomes untouchable. He becomes the prize. Think of the great men of history, the warriors, the thinkers, the inventors. They were not consumed with chasing affection. They were consumed with building. Their lives were their purpose. Their mission made them magnetic. Women did not define them, women were drawn to them. That is the difference between the man who lives as a shadow and the man who lives as a fire. There are 3 foundations every man must build. First, financial independence, not just money, but the freedom to move without permission, to decide without fear. Second, philosophical clarity, the ability to think for himself, cut through lies, and live with discipline. Third, physical mastery, the strength of body that reflects the strength of mind. Without these, he negotiates from weakness. With them, he negotiates from power. Schopenhauer warned that most men live blind. They expect love to save them, to complete them, to reward them. But the truth is harsher: happiness is not given. It is built. Respect is not gifted. It is earned. And love, in the end, is not a guarantee. It is conditional, fragile, fleeting. But here is the paradox. The man who stops begging for love, the man who stops demanding fairness, he is the one who finally inspires true attraction. Why? Because he does not need it. He stands complete. He offers value without clinging. He commands respect without chasing. And in doing so, he becomes the very man women desire most, the man who could walk away. So the question is not, how do I make her love me? The question is, how do I make myself unshakable, so that love, if it comes, is a choice, not a crutch? In the end, Schopenhauer's warning is not about women at all. It is about men. Most men will give away 3/4 of their life just to play by rules they never questioned. But the man who sees the truth, the man who refuses illusions, he becomes free. And in that freedom lies his real power.